noite. Wiki significa rápido e, quem diria, vem lá do Havaí, justamente o estado americano onde nasceu o presidente eleito dos Estados Unidos, Barack Obama. Wiki é o nome de batismo escolhido há 7 anos para aquela que seria a maior, mais aberta e mais premiada enciclopédia do mundo, feita na internet e pela internet, a Wikipédia. O entrevistado de hoje do Roda Viva é seu principal fundador, Jimmy Wales, que, aos 42 anos, não tem medo de ser feliz. Seu novo projeto de pesquisa, o Wikia Search, já está no ar, com o objetivo de derrotar apenas o poderoso Google. Daqui a 30 segundos. A 7ª reunião anual de cúpula da revista semanal inglesa The Economist, que elege os melhores em inovações tecnológicas, acaba de premiar Jimmy Wales. É mais um reconhecimento formal ao americano que revolucionou a maneira de divulgar e compartilhar informação na internet. Feita literalmente pelo público, a Wikipédia é hoje um importante instrumento de consulta. Mas a plataforma Wiki ainda deve dar muitos filhotes, inclusive no Brasil, e promete ameaçar a hegemonia de alguns gigantes da rede mundial.
Jimmy Wales fundou a Wikipédia em 2001. Tinha 34 anos na época e deixava a profissão de corretor de bolsa de valores para se tornar um empresário de internet. Seu site foi chamado de Enciclopédia Livre, mas devido ao pequeno conteúdo inicial, pouca gente levou a sério a ideia. Em poucos anos, no entanto, Jimmy Wales registrou seu acerto. A Wikipédia se expandiu pela rede mundial de computadores a ponto de atingir o 5º lugar no ranking dos sites mais visitados de todo o mundo. Seu conteúdo hoje é formado por cerca de 1 milhão de artigos em inglês, pelo menos 12 vezes mais que os 80 mil artigos da Enciclopédia Britânica. O site está disponível em 257 idiomas ou dialetos. A versão em língua portuguesa já se aproxima dos 450 mil artigos. No total das línguas já são mais de 7 milhões de artigos, distribuídos em 24 milhões de páginas, incluindo imagens, áreas de discussão, categorias de usuários, projetos e muitas outras. Essa rede de páginas da web, contendo as mais diversas informações, tornou-se um fenômeno de popularidade por uma razão. Qualquer pessoa com acesso à internet pode escrever ou modificar os artigos que compõem o conteúdo da Wikipédia. Esse é o diferencial dela em relação às outras enciclopédias. Cada leitor, cada internauta é um potencial colaborador do projeto. Uma virtude e possivelmente também um defeito. A Wikipédia se tornou alvo de críticas por falta de confiabilidade das informações, já que qualquer usuário pode escrever ou modificar os artigos publicados. A Wikipedia Foundation, que administra a Enciclopédia Livre Online, se defende, informando que um conselho de colaboradores liderados pelo próprio Jimmy Wales trabalha constantemente em vários países para aperfeiçoar o sistema e torná-lo cada vez mais confiável. O Brasil participa desse trabalho através do Instituto Wikimedia Brasil, criado para produzir e distribuir de forma colaborativa conhecimento gratuito em língua portuguesa e de povos indígenas. Jimmy Wales veio a São Paulo para um debate do Wikimedia Brasil, que reuniu especialistas de internet para desencadear uma espécie de mutirão para essa produção de conhecimento livre no país. Jimmy Wales nasceu no estado norte-americano de Alabama, onde se formou em finanças. Atualmente vive na Flórida, onde comanda a Fundação Wikimedia e seu mais novo projeto, um software de busca de informações na internet que deverá se tornar um concorrente de peso dos mais populares sites de busca atuais, como Google, Yahoo e outros.
Para entrevistar o criador da Wikipédia, Jimmy Wales, a gente convidou o Sérgio Amadeu, sociólogo e professor de pós-graduação em Comunicação e Tecnologia da Faculdade Casper Libero, Otávio Dias, editor do caderno Link do jornal O Estado de São Paulo, Carlos Eduardo Lins e Silva, ombudsman da Folha de São Paulo, Ricardo Muti, coordenador de novas mídias aqui da TV Cultura. A Carmen Amorim, repórter e jornalista da Cultura, vai fazer durante a entrevista as perguntas mandadas antes pelos telespectadores através do nosso site, que é tvcultura.com.br/Roda Viva. A gente tem também, como sempre, claro, o Paulo Caruso aqui com a gente fazendo seus desenhos. 3 usuários do comunicador Twitter, que permite a troca de pequenas mensagens via celular e e-mail, vão pôr na internet as impressões sobre a entrevista de hoje. Para ver o que eles estão escrevendo, basta acessar os endereços que aparecem na tela. O Roda Viva também está no Twitter e para nos seguir é só clicar follow no endereço twitter.com/rodaviva. Boa noite, senhor Jimmy Wales. Obrigada pela sua presença. Eu queria perguntar inicialmente para o senhor, sobre o Instituto WIKIPÉDIA no Brasil, Wikimedia, né, no Brasil, que ele vai chamar, que o senhor veio para inaugurar, para ampliar o conhecimento, até onde a gente leu, em língua portuguesa e também nas línguas indígenas. O senhor se interessa especialmente pelo Brasil, é isso? Conte-nos um pouco sobre o novo instituto.
Yeah, so all over the world we build chapters, the communities who are coming together and working on Wikipedia and our other projects. They start usually by forming a community and they become excited to work together and they meet and have dinner and so forth. And over time it begins to be obvious that they need to have a local organization. So this is the second chapter in South America, so we have Wikimedia Argentina. And now Wikimedia Brazil, which I'm here to help launch. And so this organization will work to partner with other NGOs and universities. We'll work to represent the project to the press, organize local meetings and events. So it's really the offline component of the community.
Jimmy, com a vitória de Obama nos Estados Unidos, a internet e as novas tecnologias em geral deverão ter mais influência tanto no governo quanto na relação com a população. Isso pode levar a uma forma de democracia mais direta? Isso é bom ou é ruim?
I think it's good. I think there's a lot of promise in the new technologies for having politicians be much more accessible to the public. It's always a problem when the public is not able to really effectively have a voice. What I like to say is that we're moving from an era of broadcast journalism leading to broadcast politics. Now, if we were having a more participatory media, maybe we can have a more participatory politics as well. So I think it's a good thing, but I also think it's difficult. I think we're still at the learning phases of figuring out how to help communities come together and do things which are productive. The Wiki works very well for this. It's one of the tools. Many other online media, they end up being sort of dominated by the loudest and angriest voices, and this is a problem. So, well, I think there's a lot to learn.
Jimmy, dando sequência à pergunta que o Otávio acabou de fazer, por um lado é positivo, como você está dizendo. Por outro lado, nós vimos na própria campanha do presidente Obama e também aqui no Brasil, na nossa campanha recente, que a utilização da internet também pode disseminar com muita facilidade mensagens de ódio, mentiras, insultos, infâmias. E eu fico imaginando também como é que vai ser a relação do presidente Obama com esses milhões de pessoas com quem ele se relaciona pela internet, no momento em que ele começar a frustrar expectativas, o que vai ser inevitável, principalmente com a crise econômica. Quer dizer, quando ele começar a não cumprir as promessas de campanha, não há o perigo de se criar uma relação um pouco odiosa, dada a facilidade com que o ódio se expressa na internet com o presidente?
Well, I think it's obviously true. There's a lot of euphoria right now about Obama. Maybe not so much euphoria for the people who didn't support him, but in general, there is this idea of change, a fresh change. But of course, it's easier to talk about change than to actually change things. And so I suspect a time will come when things aren't changing as fast as people had hoped, or when some of the changes turn out to be not as good as people had hoped, when the storyline will begin to turn. It always does. And the real question is, how does that work now with new media versus old media? I think this is always true in old media as well, of course. It's a very well-known phrase to talk about a politician's honeymoon period, when, it's a period of excitement, lots of new things are happening. Then things begin to stumble, and maybe the media turns on the politician. This will happen with the general public too, and I don't know exactly how it's different.
Jimmy, o economista Don Tapscott escreveu um livro, Wikinomics, e ele chega a dizer que nós vivemos uma nova economia, uma economia onde as firmas, as hierarquias das instituições perdem pela participação da produção entre pares, como no caso da Wiki. Você acredita que o fenômeno participativo chegou à economia?
Yes, well, I mean, I think it's happening, it's a pervasive phenomenon, because the technologies and the tools are there to be used for who knows what in many cases. And I think it's really affecting all kinds of organizations, organizations becoming flatter in terms of hierarchy, but also I think organizations are having the opportunity to share knowledge internally and also with the public in new ways, in faster ways. Just to give an example, in any large company, if it has 50 regional offices and someone has a good idea in one local office, in the old way of doing things, that idea had to be communicated to the manager and maybe a district manager. Then there's a meeting of the managers, and then maybe a memo is written and it comes back down. Now, more often than not, people who have similar job responsibilities in different parts of the organization are just directly communicating with each other. Maybe they're posting something on an internal wiki, documenting something that they tried that worked. This is really, it changes the lines of power. I think one of the benefits is it makes it less desirable for people to try to gain power within an organization by hoarding information.
Jimmy, você foi influenciado pelo movimento do software livre? Por Richard Stallman, por exemplo?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The whole concept of what we're doing with the free license is really fundamental to the whole project of Wikipedia. So for the viewers who may not know about that, it's probably worth explaining that the idea, when we say Wikipedia is free, we mean, as the old joke is, we mean free as in speech, not free as in beer. In English, we don't really have two words for gratis and libre, so it's a little funny in English.
Mas já existe a cerveja livre também, a cerveja open. Já tomou?
That's right, the open beer, that's
Yes.
right, yes. But basically the idea is that anyone can take our work and copy it, modify it, redistribute it, and they can do all of these things commercially or non-commercially. And this is really important. So when people are contributing to Wikipedia, they aren't just contributing to our charity, to our nonprofit effort at Wikipedia. They're also creating a base of knowledge that they can take, other people can take and adapt and modify. In fact, this is one of the ways that Wikipedia becomes large in some of the minority languages, because people are able to maybe not strictly translate, but roughly translate from another language that they know, and it allows that kind of sharing of freely when no one has to ask permission. It's just there, and you can just do this, and it's fine. So we come very much from that, from the free software world, and open source software, free software, also is all the software that runs the website. Everything is all free software. So anyone can take all the software and all the content and do as they please with it, and that's a core part of our mission.
Jimmy, no mundo da tecnologia, o desenvolvimento das soluções é muito rápido, ou seja, a tecnologia é fantástica para o público, para o usuário, mas nem sempre é tão simples para quem produz a tecnologia. Eu estava lendo aqui na sua biografia que você acabou de criar uma fundação. A pergunta básica é o seguinte: para desenvolver tecnologia no modelo colaborativo, ou no modelo, como referiu o Sérgio, o software livre, qual a forma de sustentabilidade financeira de quem produz essa tecnologia? Porque essa é uma grande dificuldade. Você, ao mesmo tempo, tem a necessidade de produzir tecnologia, mas você tem que se dedicar a isso. E, para isso, você precisa ter uma sustentação financeira do seu projeto. Qual é a forma, como é que você vê qual é a viabilidade que você vê para se criar projetos sustentáveis nesse mundo?
So I think this is a really great question. It's one of the really interesting questions that's been around in the open source software world for many years. Is how can it be sustainable? How can it grow? And over the years, we've discovered several different ways. So, for example, for Wikipedia, Wikipedia is a charity, and so exists from donations from the general public. People find Wikipedia to be useful and something that they believe in, so they donate money, and it's enough money to keep it going. I mean, it's amazing how little it costs in the grand scheme of things, the leverage of the impact, because it's the number 4 website in the world, and we have only 22 employees, and so it's a really amazing kind of thing. Another example is Wikia, my new company. This is not charitable work. This is 10,000 different wiki communities on all kinds of topics. Anyone can come and start a wiki on anything. So we have people doing humor sites or pop culture sites, anything people want to do. And these are advertising supported. And so that brings in money so that we can hire the programmers and keep the servers running. In the software world, we have things like companies like IBM are spending a lot of money creating software which they simply give away under a free license. And they do this because it somehow meets their other business interests. They maintain control of the technological platform. They are the leaders in being able to do consulting around those platforms. They sell hardware and things like this. And then we have, for example, the Firefox Web Browser. So open source software, very fast growing. Anyone I know uses Firefox because it's the best, but it's also open source, and it's supported by the it's sort of supported by partnership with Google for the ad revenue that it drives, because when you download it, the first screen defaults to Google, and so Google pays them for this. So different kinds of projects can have different business models, and some kinds of projects, I think, so far we haven't found a business model, and this is why we still have proprietary software and things like this, and I think some things will always be that way.
Senhor Jimmy, quando o senhor diz que custa muito pouco, quanto é esse custa pouco para sustentar, por exemplo, a Wikipédia? O senhor disse que tem 22 funcionários. Qual é o orçamento? Quanto de doações a Wikipédia precisa todo mês para se equilibrar? E eu lhe pergunto, é verdade o que eu li em algum momento aqui na sua pesquisa sobre o senhor, que o senhor, quando lançou a Fundação Wikipédia, se não me engano, no começo, em 2001, o senhor investiu $500 mil próprios?
Yeah, that's about right. Right now we just launched our annual giving campaign on the website, asking people to donate money, and we're looking for, in this campaign, a total of $6 million for the coming year. So right now we have, I think, I didn't look at the numbers yet, but it's $2.5 million so far. So that's about the total amount, which is really amazingly small if you consider the impact that we've had. So this covers the employees, the hardware, the bandwidth, all of the costs to keep Wikipedia up and running.
Desculpe, são $6 milhões por ano ou por mês?
Annually.
Ok. E os seus $500 mil foram investidos em 2001 para lançar a plataforma?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say because I also devoted all my time, so that was not cheap. But yeah, I mean, basically, in the beginning, we were running on just one server, and then eventually we went to 3 servers. I remember a funny story. At one point, when we were on 3 servers, I think this was in 2002, on Christmas Day, 2 of the servers broke, and so we basically could barely function on one server. And that we didn't have a lot of traffic, but it was too much for just one machine. So this was when we did the first fundraising campaign. And then we went out and bought 8 machines, and I personally went and installed them in the facility and so forth and managed them myself. Now it's, I think, around 500 servers worldwide, so it's a little bigger.
Obrigada. Nós vamos fazer um intervalo e voltamos daqui a pouquinho com o Roda Viva, que é acompanhado por 3 tuiteiros. Eles põem na internet os comentários sobre o programa. Pedro Marcum, que é comunicador, Bárbara Dieu, professora, e Pedro Valente, que é jornalista. A gente volta já já. O Roda Viva está entrevistando hoje Jimmy Wales, criador da Wikipédia, a maior enciclopédia da internet, mas criador também de outras coisas. Senhor Jimmy, eu gostaria que o senhor contasse para a gente em que o site de pesquisa seu, que é um projeto comercial com fins lucrativos, pretende ser melhor do que o Google.
Oh, for the search engine, well, basically what I'm doing is I'm drawing on all of the lessons that I've learned about community, free software, open source, to try and build an all-new search engine that is controlled by the user. And so rather than having the company make all the editorial decisions, we want to push all those decisions out into the community, and also publish all the software so anyone can see how we rank things. The existing search engines are very secretive. They have very closed systems and they don't want anyone to know how things are ranked, and I think this is not appropriate. When we think about the importance of the search engine in today's world, this is one of the most fundamental editorial acts or journalistic acts that we have today. If I type in some search term like Israel, what are the 10 things that come back and how does that get decided? And I think it's important that that process be an open and transparent one rather than closed. So, well, that's what we're working on.
Portanto, o do Google, o senhor acha que não é transparente? Eu já li algumas críticas suas ao Google. Eu queria que o senhor falasse um pouco o que o senhor desconfia da pesquisa Google.
Well, I do. I think that Google is a great company, and I do have a lot of trust for them. But it's the kind of trust that, well, we could have more transparency. It's similar if you say we're going to hold secret trials. Well, that sounds very bad, and then you say, well, but we have very respected judges, and you might say, yeah, okay, I trust these judges, but I still think it's a bad process.
Por falar em confiança e desconfiança, não é segredo para você nem para ninguém que na comunidade acadêmica muita gente não confia na Wikipédia. Eu sou membro da comunidade acadêmica e estou entre os céticos. Embora eu tenha grande admiração pelo trabalho e acho que ele tem uma possibilidade imensa de ser uma coisa magnífica, eu desconfio. E eu gostaria de perguntar para você o que vocês fazem para que não aconteçam tantos erros. Por exemplo, no seu verbete, no Wikipédia brasileiro, se cita a revista Times, quando eu acho que a revista que se quer dizer é Time. É um erro bobo, mas é um erro. No seu verbete também se nota um enviesamento ideológico pela maneira como alguns adjetivos são escolhidos. Como é que vocês garantem a equidade ideológica? Como é que vocês garantem a precisão científica, o rigor científico? Claro que a britânica também tem erros, todas as enciclopédias têm erros. No entanto, eu acho que o número de erros na Wikipédia costuma ser maior pela minha experiência. Queria saber o que vocês podem fazer mais para garantir a qualidade e a equidade ideológica do seu produto.
Well, I think one of the first things that I would say is that I hope one of our friends twittering up here will open another screen and fix the error he just mentioned. So that's one down. In general, what we look at are, we think about what are the tools that the community needs to maintain quality, to improve quality over time. If we think about the design of the website and the design of the social rules in the community, they're constantly in flow and change. So just as to give some examples of how it's done today, for every entry, the entire history is there. And so if somebody comes and makes a mess of an entry, we can always go back to the best version that we had once before.
Mas quem resolve qual é a melhor?
Acho que o senhor tem comitê de arbitragem, não é isso?
No, anyone decides. You decide. You decide. Whoever comes decides. And if there's some dispute about it, then there's a discussion page for each article. And so if you two have a dispute over which is the best version, you come to the discussion page and you explain, and then other people come, join the discussion. But nothing's ever finished. It's just not the nature of Wikipedia.
Mas só pode ir um texto para o ar. Qual é o texto que vai? Se eu e ele estamos numa disputa, só o meu texto ou o dele que vai ao ar? Quem é que coloca no ar, o meu ou o dele?
Well, so oftentimes when we have a dispute, it turns out that there's a third way. There's a better way to write. In some cases, you may say, well, no, this is what happened, and he says, no, this is what happened. Someone else who maybe is a more neutral observer may come and say, well, actually, when we look at it, maybe historians don't all agree. And so we need to acknowledge this, that say, well, this source, this reference from esteemed historian says this, but the story is told a little bit differently in this other work. And so, at least at this point, there's some disagreement. And this is what the reader should learn from an encyclopedia. They shouldn't get one person's perspective. They should get exposure. Now, it is true, sometimes people are unreasonable. Fortunately, the number of unreasonable people is much smaller than most people would imagine. And sometimes when someone's unreasonable and they keep trying to change something, even though there's a very strong consensus, everyone else says, no, the moon is not made of cheese. At some point, then this is where we have more tools for the community. So the administrators have the ability to block people from editing if they continue to misbehave, or we can temporarily protect articles. One of the interesting features that's being tested right now in Germany is a feature that allows the community to flag certain versions as having been somehow reviewed by the community. This has been a very big success in the German Wikipedia. We're looking at what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses and how is it working. Should we modify it before we test it more broadly? But I think within a year, all of the versions of Wikipedia will have this, and we think this will really help to reduce the number of errors that the general public sees.
Jimmy.
Sérgio, só um pouquinho. Sobre a confiabilidade, senhor Jimmy, a maior parte das perguntas dos nossos telespectadores...
Mais de 15 perguntas questionando exatamente a pergunta do Carlos Eduardo, a questão da confiabilidade, principalmente no meio acadêmico. Mas já que a pergunta foi feita, eu vou fazer uma outra de cunho pessoal, que também já enviaram 3 perguntas. Hélio Alves, ele quer saber qual a sua formação, se o senhor criou a primeira enciclopédia digital e ganhou muito dinheiro com ela, ele quer saber isso. E o Pedro Natal, de São Paulo, quer saber que se o senhor vive exclusivamente desse trabalho, né, da digital. E também tem uma pergunta aqui de Osório, de Itaquaquecetuba, São Paulo. Antes de realizar este brilhante projeto, o que você fazia? Quando despertou a vontade de realizá-lo e como foi o processo? Quer saber o que fazia antes? Quer dizer, são perguntas pessoais, né?
Yes. So no, I don't make any money directly from Wikipedia at all. I don't take a salary. In fact, I don't even turn in my expenses. So I pay for all my own expenses and things like this. Having said that, of course, I do travel all over the world, and I have speaking engagements and things like this. So my career is okay. And then also the for-profit company, which is building wikis. This is advertising supported and doing the search engine project. So I'm not going to starve, but in the beginning, started this in 2001. Before that, I had done some work on the internet, but really before that, I had been a futures and options trader in Chicago, and that was a really fun career too.
Ou seja, se o senhor estivesse pensando na Wikipédia hoje, ela não seria lançada por causa do crash ou do credit crunch.
Well, so this is the interesting thing, is that Wikipedia is really a child of the dot-com crash. And in fact, a lot of the innovation around Wikipedia came because there was no money. If I had been starting Wikipedia earlier during the dot-com boom, and I was able to get some venture capitalists to invest, and of course in the dot-com boom, the amounts of money being invested were insane. Well, if you have some problem on the website, you would say, well, we should hire some administrators to do this, or some moderators to control this. We probably would have taken a different path that wouldn't have been successful, because we would have really thought about hiring hundreds of people to manage the project. Instead, because there was no money, there was no possibility for this, we were just a community of people trying to work together to build something we thought was interesting. We had to innovate. If there's some problem, well, we have to solve it ourselves. We had ambitions to be global, and so well, who's going to translate the software into Portuguese, for example, or
Mas
German?
o senhor pessoalmente, desculpe, o senhor pessoalmente ficou rico nessa época, comprou sua independência graças aos negócios futuros com juros e moedas, não foi isso?
No, not so much.
Não?
No. I think one of the things that's interesting that people should think about, I think everybody should think about, is in your life, how much money do you really need? And for me, I value my freedom more than I value any particular thing. So I live, I have my computer and I travel all over the world. And the money I do have, I can live as long as I want without difficulty because my work is more important. So I think many people can live without work if they're willing to make some compromise.
Sérgio, pois não.
Bom, eu vou fazer uma pergunta em continuidade a isso. Você acredita, então, naquela frase do John Perry Barlow, que nas redes nós vamos viver muito mais de relacionamento do que de renda de propriedade?
It's an interesting question. I definitely think there's some truth to that. Well, I don't know. I mean, every project, even a non-profit project, has to have a business model, as we say, and you have to consider how is something sustainable, and this is always going to be in part about money and things like this. But it certainly is true that these days there are more and more people who are making careers from the internet and from knowing people in relationships, as you're saying. So. Yeah, I don't know.
Jimmy, no início desse ano, o governo britânico anunciou que iria começar a discutir uma mudança na lei para que permitisse que as pessoas ripassem CDs, que é uma coisa que já está praticamente fora de moda. Então a gente percebe que existe um descompasso enorme entre as leis dos países e o que as pessoas fazem de fato hoje em dia na internet, com os computadores e tal. E esse processo de mudança de leis é uma coisa muito lenta, depende muito de cada país, de cada parlamento e tal. Quer dizer, então, muito do que as pessoas fazem hoje é ilegal, as pessoas são obrigadas a viver na ilegalidade. Você acha que seria necessária uma iniciativa mais global, que transcendesse os países, para começar a aproximar um pouco a realidade das pessoas, da legislação que tem hoje em dia no mundo?
I think eventually. But I'm nervous about the possibilities because far too often what we've been seeing when governments are making revisions to the law, in many countries they're going in completely the wrong direction because the organizations who are threatened by the new technologies have all the money and the power, and they're very nervous about what's going on. So for example, in the US, we have extended and re-extended the length of copyright when, in fact, it's fairly clear to me that the move should be exactly in the opposite direction. We should be shortening the length of copyright because it's completely unreasonable today. So my concern would be, I'm not so sure that I really want to see a giant copyright treaty being negotiated at a global summit meeting because I fear that it would actually be a complete disaster. It would take us longer to unravel. But eventually, yes, of course, I think that we need to take a look and say, questions of fair use. So something is copyrighted, but what rights do I have as an ordinary person who is, maybe I'm writing a blog, or maybe I'm just talking to some friends, or building a fan website. What are the rights that I have, and what are the limitations on copyright? Other questions. Right now when we look at the problem of orphan works, there are all of these copyrighted materials that are now not in print, they're not being published, and they're still under copyright. If they weren't under copyright, then communities like the Wikipedia community could take these works, which are not being sold anyway, and do something with them. I think there's a lot of changes that need to be made that can be made in a way that is also protects the legitimate interests of people who are in the business of producing very high value content and selling it, so Hollywood movies and things like this. I think we don't need to think in terms of disrupting every possible business model, but I think there are all of these points where it's clearly, as you say, people are realizing the law makes no sense, and so they're just living anyway and just ignoring it. And that's not a healthy situation for society. When the law makes no sense, so people begin to ignore it, it breaks down the whole idea of what law is supposed to be.
Jimmy, essa opção agora por instalar uma operação no Brasil, né, da Wikipedia, a pergunta é o seguinte: você tem conhecimento da realidade, da interatividade, da internet no Brasil, como um país onde o software livre se desenvolve muito rapidamente, as comunidades sociais também se desenvolvem? Você tem uma ideia do que é o Brasil no mundo da interatividade?
Well, I mean, this is, Brazil has been known for quite some time as one of the leaders in this movement. And we see this in free software, we see it in Creative Commons activism, the support that we get from community organizations. I think I don't know enough about Brazilian culture to understand it, but one Brazilian has said to me that somehow this collaborative approach is wired into the DNA of Brazilians, and it's sort of a natural way to think. For us, what I know of our local community is, it's a very passionate group of volunteers who are very excited about, not only about Portuguese Wikipedia, but one of the projects they're really interested in thinking about is the indigenous languages of Brazil. And right now we don't really have Wikipedia in those languages, but they're very excited to think about working with various NGOs. How can we support these people to have a Wikipedia in their language? And wow, I think this is very exciting.
A questão básica é a seguinte aqui. Eu acredito que a comunicação através dos meios interativos, das mídias digitais, seria mais eficiente se houvesse um conhecimento de quem produz a informação sobre a realidade de cada país, porque poderia ser mais eficiente essa relação. Então, uma coisa assim horizontal, que fica um pouco mais assim pasteurizada de certa forma, universal, mas e que acaba perdendo algumas características que são típicas, por exemplo, no caso do Brasil, por exemplo, na China, na Índia, nos próprios Estados Unidos. Então, o quanto esse conhecimento da realidade local você acha importante para que a mensagem seja recebida e a comunicação seja mais qualificada?
Well, I agree with you completely, and I think it's one of the great strengths that we have is that because we're such a community-based organization and it's such a community-based medium, there's no one sitting in the United States making decisions about what goes on in Portuguese Wikipedia. It's impossible, not only because of language, but also, as you say, because of culture and things like this. So one of the classic simple examples of this is it's a standard rule across all Wikipedia languages that we say no personal attacks. We really want to have a respectful environment in the community. When people are having a disagreement, you shouldn't be attacking the other person, you should be having a reasonable discussion. But what really is a personal attack? What counts as a personal attack? People in different cultures can be very different in their sensitivities around this. If you think about the Japanese culture versus the American culture, the kinds of things that people consider insulting or rude, very, very different. This is the kind of thing that's impossible for anyone to determine top down. It's really for each community to discuss and find their own ground. So yeah, I think it's extremely important.
Jimmy.
Nós vamos fazer mais um intervalo, Sérgio, e lembrando a vocês que a memória do Roda Viva está no nosso site, que é tvcultura.com.br/Roda Viva, onde você pode pesquisar o nosso arquivo e também mandar e-mails. A gente volta já já. Nós estamos entrevistando no Roda Viva Jimmy Wales, o empresário que criou a Wikipédia e vai criar, pelo jeito, ainda vários outros. Senhor Jimmy, eu quero voltar ao assunto da difamação. Não sei se ficou muito claro para todo mundo, para mim não ficou muito claro. Eu não entendi o papel exatamente do Wiki Scanner. E eu gostaria também de lhe perguntar, quando alguém difama, calunia uma pessoa através de algum verbete, é possível rastreá-lo pelo IP, pela identificação do computador?
Yes, so the way the internet is designed, every computer that's on the internet is connected and has an assigned IP number. So if someone is editing Wikipedia and they're not logged in, the IP number is published, so anyone can see which computer on the internet made the edit. Now, it's a little more complicated than that because sometimes people share IP numbers and there are a lot of different difficulties around this. The Wiki Scanner was a project by a programmer named Virgil Griffith, and what he did is he went through the published database of Wikipedia, which we've been publishing these IP numbers for many years, but he made it very easy to search to say where did these edits come from, and then it was possible to make comparisons and to find interesting things. So, you know, you may find some politician's office making an edit, or you may find some edit about a company being made from computer inside that company. And so this caused a lot of embarrassment to people who were maybe not behaving as well as they should have been. But, this is fine, this is part of the process. On a deeper level, if someone is doing something really bad, legally bad, then even though we don't publish the IP numbers of people who are logged in, we do have them for at least for some period of time. You know, sometimes people, well, they may get in legal trouble for doing something malicious on the internet, as well they should, in my opinion. In general, though, it doesn't come to that. The community is really quite aggressive about not allowing this kind of behavior. And so if somebody comes and puts some horrible thing in, the community will very quickly delete it and block the person who was doing the bad thing. And normally that's the end of it. That takes care of it.
O que é a comunidade? Você se refere sempre à comunidade. O que é a comunidade? A comunidade não pode ser uma coisa etérea, são pessoas. Isso que para mim ainda não ficou claro. Quem é na comunidade que tem o poder de deletar uma coisa que a comunidade acha ruim? Como é que essa democracia se expressa concretamente? Porque é claro que você não faz uma votação entre todos os wikipedistas para ver se aquilo deve ser deletado ou não deve, não é? Como é que a comunidade se manifesta?
So this is a really important question because I feel like the word community is often very much abused in the internet context. People talk about the community as some sort of mystical sort of beast out there, when in fact, as you say, it is individual people. It's people, and to be a community, it's not just isolated individuals. It's people who come to know each other. They become friends, they become colleagues through the site, and they have certain social structure within that. So within the community, there are elections to become an administrator, and administrators have certain additional rights. So they're able to block people from editing. They're able to delete revisions. Now, anyone can come and change an entry, and that's normally you know, enough to hide the bad stuff, but an administrator can actually delete even the old revisions. And so these are the tools that the community uses. The community is always made up of a core group of people who know each other and they're in daily contact and communication. This is different from what most people imagine. A lot of people imagine that somehow Wikipedia is created by 100 million people, each adding one sentence each. Well, that's not exactly correct. What is more accurate is to say that there's this core group of people and they set the policies, they discuss things with each other, and they make these kinds of decisions. But we try to avoid voting, per se, because voting is, particularly for things like someone's written something malicious, it should just be removed, and then we can have a discussion or a debate about it later, but there's no reason to have a vote on something like
Foi
that.
noticiado que na noite da eleição do presidente Obama, o Wikipedia, para manter o verbete atualizado, os verbetes referentes à eleição, desprotegeu esses verbetes. Você tem conhecimento se houve, quando estava desprotegido, muita invasão para colocar coisas maliciosas ou coisas ruins, ou o comportamento em geral foi bom?
I think the behavior was good in a general way, and I'm not actually sure, I haven't actually checked the history myself to see what the community chose to do that night. I believe they probably semi-protected the entries so that
O New York Times de hoje diz que foi totalmente desprotegido. Eu não sei se está correta a informação no New York Times, mas diz que foi totalmente desprotegido.
I don't know. It's a good question. Well, the New York Times probably knows. They looked into it, but sometimes they're wrong, you know. But in general, we try to keep things as open as we possibly can at all times. For certain times, certain very special times, it's pretty rare to leave something open on a night like that, because we know that you know, on the night of the election, literally millions of people would come to the website to check, and of course the emotions are high, and some people are idiots, and that's just the way the world works. And so we would normally temporarily protect the article, but I'm glad to hear if we kept it as open as possible during that night. That's really good, because you know, the idea of closing things as a way of ensuring quality is really it's only limited to certain situations where that makes sense. In many more situations, by being open, you get faster updating, you get more people coming in. And as I said earlier, most people are actually not malicious. But also we have a little bit more of a relaxed approach to this kind of thing most of the time. A super important night like that, we're probably a little more uptight. But in general, we just know if someone comes and puts something malicious and we delete it within 3 minutes, okay, well, that's fine. That's Wikipedia, and everybody sort of understands that that's a cost of the open system. But the benefit is we have these, you know, spontaneous outpourings of information from the general public when something newsworthy happens. The community and also just complete strangers, people come and they begin gathering information from different sources and updating and adding, and we find this to be very valuable.
Jimmy, alguns pesquisadores falam que a Wikipedia é auto-organizada. Você, em uma entrevista, disse que a Wikipedia é um exemplo de meritocracia. Como que isso acontece? Qual o modelo de colaboração da Wikipedia? É baseado, então, no mérito? Ou seja, é possível dizer que no ambiente de redes, hoje, colaborar pode ser tão eficiente quanto competir e quanto simplesmente hierarquizar?
Yeah, so so within Wikipedia, the governance model is really quite complicated, and it's really difficult to put a simple label on it. So it's somehow a hybrid of collaboration and compromise, consensus as we call it, where anyone can come and change anything at any time, and so it doesn't become stable until almost everyone can agree that it's fine, which actually happens most of the time. Most things in the world aren't that controversial. But then we have some elements of democracy, so sometimes we do vote on things. Usually these are non-binding votes, but you know, if we're trying to decide you know, which photo of the Eiffel Tower should we have in an article, we can only have one of two. You can only discuss it so much, and in the end, normally someone will have a poll. Well, if 80% of the people say this picture and only 20% say this picture, you have to be pretty brave to go and put this picture up again, right? You could do it still, but you have to have a really good reason, or people may become angry with you. There's a certain amount of aristocracy as well in the community, so people who have been around for a long time and are very respected within the community. Other people trust their judgment, and so they're able to have just nothing formal, but just through respect, they're able to have more influence than someone who just shows up for the first time. So it's a complicated matter to figure out how lots of things are done. So, for example, the front page of English Wikipedia, one of the most important pages, the featured article of the day is chosen by one guy. He's the homepage czar, which he became many years ago because he announced that he was having an election for this, and well, I think he got, you know, 8 votes out of 12 people who voted, and that's it. But then he's done a good job, and nobody's bothered to sort of challenge him. I mean, someone has to do it every day, and he just does it every day. And it's kind of amazing that this works. But it could change if the community said, no, actually, Raul, we don't want you to do this anymore. They'll come up with a different way.
Jimmy, não há então mecanismo de reputação formal, ele é informal na Wikipedia. A reputação dos revisores não é como a Slashdot, que você tem mecanismo de escolha entre os que mais participam. Quem faz isso é software.
Yeah, that's right. So we've always avoided doing like reputation ratings or metrics or things like this because I don't think they're a very healthy idea. I mean, there's several problems with it. So for one thing, you may find there's some contributor who is absolutely brilliant in biology, a professional biologist who does wonderful work and is really easy to work with and very thoughtful and helps others. And the same person, maybe if you get them anywhere near Israel, Palestine, they just can't be objective. And they get angry and they're very difficult. So if you had some sort of a reputation system, it would need to be multi-valued. It would need to be, say, well, on this topic he's bad, on this topic he's good, because that's the way some people are. Also, there are people who we say they're very brittle. So they do good work, but they're difficult personalities. How do you rate someone like that? And then the final thing I say is I ask people to imagine if you were going to work in any kind of a job, and part of the job requirement was that you have to wear a badge that tells the number of people who like you that day. That sounds like a very unpleasant place to work with a lot of sort of rating and things like that. I don't think we need all that. I think as long as we have a genuine human community, people know each other, they talk to each other, you know, they say things like, yeah, he's doing good work, but he's kind of a jerk, or let's try to keep him interested in biology because he's causing too much trouble over here. So a few friends will say, hey, tell us about this bird, you know, and try to get them distracted to something useful. And that's just human. I mean, it's really, there's no magic formula. You can't replace that kind of personal judgment with a computer formula.
Carmen.
Então, tem uma pergunta de uma telespectadora, a Estela Correia, de São Paulo. Ela pergunta o seguinte: o senhor pensa em criar um site de notícias? E se esse site poderia ser livre para receber as notícias das comunidades, das pequenas cidades?
Yes, so we have a project called Wikinews at wikinews.org, which is this idea, essentially. Now, Wikinews has been around for several years, and it has never become as successful as Wikipedia. It's a small community. It does okay, but there are a lot of complications to do this sort of thing. To do within Wikipedia, when we say we think about quality, one of the things that we say, it's a very important thing for Wikipedia, is no original research. We don't think Wikipedia is the place for people to come and do original research. You need to have good quality sources from academic journals or newspapers or magazines or books so that other people can check your work and say, oh yes, this is what the New York Times reported or something like this. But with journalism, it's inherently original research. And so to do original research in journalism, you really do rely much more strongly on the individual reputation of the person who's doing it. And this is difficult online to assess. Not impossible, because we certainly have people, I would say, for me, if someone is a Wikipedia administrator, this means that they've been selected by the community after a long period of time, and they're trusted, and people know them to be a sensible person. They can report on things, and I would say, okay, well, this is something that I can perhaps trust, but it's been difficult. And this is a bigger problem than just Wikinews. It's actually a problem for citizen journalism in general, that in some areas it's working, and in some areas I don't think we're going to see a replacement for traditional journalism in some areas.
Mas o Google News é bem sucedido.
Yes, but all Google News does is collect headlines from traditional journalism, and so it isn't anything about people. It's not really a new model. It's a search technique for finding headlines.
Jimmy, eu queria fazer uma pergunta justamente sobre essa questão do jornalismo. Hoje em dia se fala muito que para os jovens, os meios de comunicação tradicionais, os jornais, as revistas, TVs, enfim, perderam a relevância. Agora, me parece que assim, a maior relevância do jornalismo é estar sempre fiscalizando o governo, as autoridades públicas e a sua relação com a iniciativa privada, com a sociedade civil, enfim. Ou seja, os jornais, isso a gente vê muito em países livres, no Brasil, no Reino Unido, nos Estados Unidos, quer dizer, os jornais têm essa função fundamental de fiscalizar. Será que essa ideia do jornalismo colaborativo não pode pôr em risco esse papel fundamental, essencial?
No, I don't think so, but I do think that as we look at things going forward, the journalistic organizations which will be successful will be those which adopt some hybrid approaches. And so we can find that citizen journalists, collaborative journalism involving the general public and just more people from the community of a newspaper, for example, can be successful in improving certain things. But for other things, no, not so much. And so my favorite example is for sports journalism. Sporting events are held in public places at public times, which makes it very easy for the general public to be involved in reporting. The analysis and commentary around sports is something that many very smart people enjoy as a hobby. What I always say is if someone would be willing to pay to have your job, maybe that's a problem for the future. And so I think sports journalism is an area where we're going to see a lot more participatory media involvement. This is different from reporting on the new budget of the government. This is really hard journalistic work that people, well, maybe they will do some analysis of it or some complaining about it if they have an agenda, but just the basic fact reporting, well, you may need to go out and actually speak to some people and ask some questions. And people don't have time to do this just as a hobby. And so this is an area where I don't see any changes coming. Where I see the threat, so I don't see this as a threat, I see it as an opportunity that news organizations will, smart ones will take advantage of the technologies in certain ways, and the ones that ignore these things will lose out because they'll end up spending money doing things that they shouldn't be doing and closing off avenues of information. For me, I think the bigger threat to journalism is the disaggregation of the content from the advertising base. This is a serious problem that I don't really know a good answer for. When we look at classified advertising in the U.S., it's being very rapidly replaced by Craigslist and other type sites, eBay, things like this, which means that one large revenue stream that newspapers had is drying up, and it's drying up for technological reasons. I mean, if you really think about it, the content of someone trying to sell their used car and the headlines of the day have nothing to do with each other. But for technological reasons, that there was a physical bundle of papers that was being delivered every day, it made sense to bundle them together. Now the technology allows these to be unbundled. There's no reason why I should go to my local newspaper to look for a car for sale when I can go to the car for sale website. I don't know the answer to this. Maybe more display advertising, maybe charging money, but I don't know. It's a tough time for the newspaper business.
Senhor Jimmy, nós vamos fazer um último intervalo e voltamos daqui a pouquinho com o Roda Viva, que entrevista hoje o criador da famosa Wikipédia. Até já. Você vê hoje no Roda Viva a entrevista com Jimmy Wales. Em 2001, ele criou a Wikipédia, a maior enciclopédia hoje da internet. Senhor Jimmy, o senhor tem uma filha e eu li em alguma de suas entrevistas, não sei se muito recentes, que o senhor pretendia comprar para sua filha uma enciclopédia britânica de papel. Essa ideia ainda prevalece? Ou o senhor já comprou? Quantos anos tem a sua filha?
So she's 7 years old, and actually what I said is that I think I may buy her a World Book encyclopedia. So World Book in English is encyclopedia that's more aimed at children, and whereas Britannica is for any adult. And it's interesting actually because one of the things that I've realized with Wikipedia, and we've had some discussions about maybe doing a children's version of Wikipedia or something like this, but it's actually much easier for ordinary people to write for other adults because you already have a pretty good idea of what the normal adult should have as background knowledge. And so you can start writing about the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France, and you know that, well, any adult should know where France is and Paris and so forth. But for children, it's much more difficult, and it's a really challenging thing. And World Book, for example, they have a very careful process where they think about if the subject in World Book is tiger, they write this article because they know that even very young children will be reading about tigers. But if the subject is physics, then they write this at a higher level because they know the little children won't be interested and the older children need a bit more. I think it's a very interesting thing. I think there's still value. And I also think Britannica is a fabulous encyclopedia. It's a little small, but...
Mas não tá nos seus planos de compra, britânica?
No, not at the present time.
Carmen.
Então, tem uma pergunta aqui do Vinícius Garcia de Oliveira, de Campinas, São Paulo. Ele diz o seguinte, que a internet atinge uma camada muito seleta ainda da população. Se a internet irá substituir os meios de comunicação tradicionais. O que o senhor pensa disso?
I don't know if anything ever replaces anything. Certainly, in some ways, we think about the electric light has replaced the candle, but we still have candles because for certain things like a romantic dinner, it's much better than a lamp on the table. So when we think about replacing traditional means of communication, I think it just depends. I mean, certainly people are today writing more than they did 40 years ago. People might write a letter longhand, but people didn't do that much of it. Whereas now people email with their mothers, every day. But they still send cards, and greeting cards and things like this. So I think it just depends. I think some things may disappear, but some things won't.
Vocês já foram alvo de
Ricardo,
algum...
deixa o Ricardo perguntar, por favor. Fala, Ricardo.
Não, eu tive curiosidade, Jimmy, do seguinte, você mencionou que está desenvolvendo um buscador, né? Quer dizer, a sua briga é com o Google, que é uma ferramenta poderosa. O que é o diferencial da sua ferramenta? Ela está apoiada, por exemplo, na Wikipedia, na busca da informação? Ela vai usar alguma coisa do ecossistema Wiki que você já trabalhou, já desenvolveu?
Mostly it's using the same ideas that I've developed over the years in working with Wikipedia. So all freely licensed software, very strong component of community involvement. One of the things that we just released is an application framework for developers so that they can build search widgets, things to answer certain types of queries in a more efficient way. And we just made the framework and made it open so that any programmer can come and learn how to do it very easily and create new kinds of searches and things like this.
E a relevância dos conteúdos, como é que você... Porque o Google tem lá vários formatos, alguns deles até está ligado à publicidade, né? Mas no caso da tua ferramenta, o que seria o diferencial da relevância de um assunto ir para cima da lista ou não?
Well, I think the most important difference is that although there's some algorithmic component to it, anyone can come and move things around. So you can just, if you see something, if you see something and you say, well, this is not relevant, you can just click and delete it and it's gone for everyone. If you see that, well, the best link is down here at number 5, this is what I'm sure people are looking for. Now, these 4 are kind of okay. You just mark this one 5 stars and mark these ones 3 stars. Maybe you say, it's kind of okay. So it's really about putting that control back with human beings as much as possible. So far we've had over 2 million different contributions of some kind. Even though we're still a very small project, we're beginning to grow a small community, and we'll see what happens. Mostly I'm having fun making it.
Carlos Eduardo.
Vocês já foram alvo de algum ataque de hacker? Qual é a defesa que vocês têm para não ser alvo de ataques?
Not so much. I mean, in the early days, we were very concerned that someone might come with some kind of distributed bot attack to try to damage Wikipedia by simultaneously editing hundreds of thousands of articles to put in curse words or something like this. First we have some of the smartest open source developers who are part of our volunteer community. And the kind of people who do these kinds of attacks are mostly punks, they're not that smart or whatever. Unless they're like some kind of organized crime spammers. But these people are busy, sending out emails and things. They're not really trying to disrupt Wikipedia. So we've never had any serious problems. I mean, obviously from time to time somebody tries something. But, there's certain things we can do. I mean, it's possible for our developers, and we always have at least one developer online at all times. The developers can take the entire site read-only, within 15 seconds if necessary. So if the community suddenly said, oh wow, I'm seeing hundreds of edits that are malicious at the same time, if we had to, we could go read-only. More likely what we would do is start blocking IP numbers very quickly, and we have tools. So far so good.
Otávio, desculpe, vamos passar para o
Jimmy, eu queria fazer uma pergunta de uma outra área, que é medicina. Você estava contando agora, antes da entrevista, que você já participou de congressos médicos e tal. E se fala-se muito que a internet, a tecnologia em geral, vão mudar completamente a medicina, a maneira como as pessoas obtêm informação, etc. Por outro lado, também há uma preocupação aí das pessoas ficarem utilizando a internet para se automedicarem ou, enfim, tentarem resolver seus problemas de uma outra maneira. Vocês têm algum projeto nessa área de medicina? Você acha que essas ferramentas Wiki podem ser interessantes também para as pessoas, inclusive até de lugares onde não há tanto serviço médico, enfim, elas terem mais acesso a informações médicas, à saúde, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the important things about our work is that we try to have as high quality as possible. And of course we don't always succeed, but we never view Wikipedia as some kind of open message board where anyone can post anything. And so when we look at the spectrum of information on the internet, which ranges from crazy lunatics advising really unhealthy things to scientific journals at the cutting edge, which may be too difficult for people to understand, we try to be, at the high end of quality, but also readable and accessible to people. And many of our medical articles will have a notice at the top saying, Wikipedia does not give medical advice, to remind people, and there's a link to explain this, that, well, really, if you're having a problem, you should see a doctor. I think it's interesting, in various times I've talked to medical professionals, to doctors, and sometimes they feel a bit annoyed with the internet in general because people come in convinced they have some disease that they read about on the internet only to turn out to, they have a common cold or something, not a rare blood disease or something. And so they say, well, this is bad. But on the other hand, they also say, well, it's actually really good that if someone has an illness, they can actually become very well informed about it and the research and become really a part of the healing process. And I think for many people, having that kind of information gives them a bit of internal strength to carry on and to understand why the treatment is what it is and things like that. In terms of your second question was really more about access to information. Certainly in many parts of the world and in many communities, we shouldn't worry that they're getting invalid information from the internet. We should worry they're getting no information whatsoever. And this is where, for us, the free licensing that I talked about is really important. We want local community groups to be able to come to Wikipedia and gather 20 articles about some community health issues, sanitation practices, things like this, and distribute these and actually modify them to the local context to say, well, look, here's some information about AIDS, for example, and the spread of AIDS. And we've localized it, but because the Wikipedia is under free license, we can take it, we can modify it, distribute a modified version that says, well, look, in this neighborhood, this is the local situation. Here's some general information. and hopefully people can use that to make their lives better in a little way. Then we also see the same technologies being used by people for all kinds of purposes, for local information gathering and sharing. And so this is something that I also think is important.
Carmen.
Então, tem uma pergunta aqui da Mirna Ferraz, do Rio de Janeiro, que ela quer saber qual o tamanho e a importância do mercado brasileiro para a Wikipédia.
Well, it's very important. So for the Portuguese language, obviously it's an incredibly big and important market. It's kind of funny to talk about a market because we're a nonprofit, a charity, so we think of global participation and getting lots of people involved, and for this, everywhere that there are human beings, I feel is quite important. But, well, just to say, Portuguese Wikipedia has over 500,000 articles already. It's larger than the Spanish Wikipedia, which is interesting, and it's one of the top languages of Wikipedia. In terms of the popularity, I think something like 30% of the users of the internet in Brazil are using Wikipedia, and this number is the same as the US and basically everywhere around the world. So it's very much in line with the rest of the world and in how it's being used and adopted.
Jimmy, quando se criou uma interface como o blog, as pessoas puderam escrever muito e hoje um número muito grande de cidadãos no mundo se informam por blogs. Quando se criou a Wiki, hoje nós temos até no Brasil, no Comitê Gestor da Internet, um domínio que se chama wiki.wiki.br, de tão popular que é o uso da Wikimedia. Ou seja, ferramentas, interfaces de colaboração são muito importantes, elas são os novos intermediários da comunicação. E aí você estava falando de línguas indígenas. Você sabe que as comunidades indígenas, as etnias, elas não têm uma cultura escrita, elas têm uma cultura oral. Não seria o caso de se construir uma interface para vídeo colaborativo, que um pudesse interagir com o outro, um Wikivídeo? Vocês não pensam nisso?
Yes, I think it's very interesting. Now, I think that video is going to be very important in the long run, but I think it also has certain limitations for certain types of projects. Video is a great way for communicating with people with an oral tradition, if they're not literate, that especially they have no way of reading. On the other hand, in many cultures, people don't learn to read because there's not that much of interest to read in their language. And so I do think that a traditional Wikipedia model can actually help a lot with literacy because it actually becomes useful to read something.
Ok, então, senhor Jimmy, queremos agradecer muito a sua presença aqui hoje no Roda Viva, agradecer a presença dos nossos colegas que fizeram a entrevista, dos tuiteiros, da Carmen e do Caruso. Na semana que vem tem mais um Roda Viva, segunda-feira, às 10h10 da noite. Até lá!